Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Think Tank Sports. Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen. Check us out on the socials: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen to us on Spotify for podcasters or wherever you get your podcasts. We are out there for you to digest. And watch us on YouTube, as today we are going to do an NFL dun, 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 draft recap. It was an exciting few days there. Lots of picks, lots of storylines. So it's interesting times. The NFL, whether you want to say they ever actually go dormant, probably not dormant anymore. And now for the rest of the way, I even heard today, Mike, as I drag Mike into the podcast, kicking and screaming. That they're saying the schedule may be released on May 11th, and how they had to wait until the Aaron Rodgers trade and the Lamar Jackson signing, and that changed everything with the schedule. And so the NFL is percolating and, cooking and all of those things. The NFL is going to be on the front of our brains for a while. So we're going to talk about the draft and other things. Me and my good friend Mike. Mike, how are you?
Good, Dave. Good, Dave. Good to see you. Yeah, I think you're making a good point about the total calendar for the NFL. Really, it's the few weeks in the dead of summer, like when the NBA finals are going, right before training camp starts. That's really the quietest right now in the NFL, which is quite interesting. Definitely a departure from when we were kids, and then when our parents were kids. These guys were, car salesman, insurance, right? Whatever job they could find in the off season. So come a long way. And Lamar Jackson, you hit it right away. I guess he didn't need an agent. Signed his own deal, 5 years, all guaranteed, $260 million. Taking it right to the bank, literally at the M&T ballpark there in Baltimore. And all the negativity that was spewing out of both sides a week earlier.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy in kumbaya. So good for Lamar Jackson. I am happy for him. He got paid. Now let's see if he can throw the ball, Dave.
Yeah. Well, he has targets now to throw the ball. But I think I've shared that meme with you. Oh gosh, now I can't even think of it's terrible. The big wide receiver they signed in the off season.
Mecole Hardman?
No. Wide receivers. I can't believe I can't think of who it is, but it's like basically him standing in an empty room watching Lamar Jackson run the ball down the field for touchdowns, like expecting a pass. Why can't I think of who it is?
I don't know who you're talking about, buddy. I'm sorry. I don't know either.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
I'm looking back through our text chain, but there's so many texts that I can't even.
It's from a while ago.
All
right. I'll look it up here, but
we'll figure it out.
But yeah, Lamar Jackson right now, the highest paid player in the NFL, breaking the bank, as Mike said. Yeah, I mean, and that was one of the pieces that everybody was kind of waiting to drop and see. And ultimately, Mike, it comes down to, with them signing him to the type of franchise tag that they did, the compensation that other teams would have had to give up, nobody was willing to do it.
That's true.
That's and so true. I mean, it turns out that the Ravens actually, they had to, pay him, but them signing them actually helped. I guess.
Are we both forgetting about Odell Beckham? Was that who we were trying to think of? Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, and Devin Duvernay are the starting four. Nelson Aguilar.
I think it's Odell Beckham Jr., which is horrible. But yeah, basically him standing in the end zone watching is the meme, standing in the end zone watching Lamar Jackson run the ball.
That's probably fair. And
nobody near him either.
Was Aaron Rodgers finally getting the deal done to the Jets. Another where the Jets were asking, or the Packers were, trying to ask a king's ransom, but nobody really had any leverage in that whole situation. So I'm glad, Dave, it was over before the draft. These kids could have their night, their spotlight coming out of college. And little did anybody know, we would have the Will Levis, Aaron Rodgers type drama going in. So last week on Twitter, we asked our astute fans how many quarterbacks will be drafted in the first round. So here's where there's a little controversy, Dave.
Yeah.
With some of the gambling sites too. Will Levis not drafted in the first round.
No.
But the 32 pick overall, correct? 32nd pick overall?
Nope.
Oh no, that
picks.
was
nope, there were 32 picks in the first round.
There was only 31 this year. That's
right.
point.
No, Joey Porter Jr. from Penn
Joey
State
Porter Jr. Will Levis
was 32. Yeah, so Levis was 33. Yep.
Okay. So so not in the first round. So only 3 taken in the first round, and nobody of our tens of fans picked that. Although Mark Dobbs did say none of the above. That was above, so I guess he doesn't count either.
Yeah. No, he does not. I will firmly say that doesn't count.
Yeah. But we had 3 quarterbacks chosen, and they get to have their night, so which is great. Will Levis plummets, if you could call it to plummet to 33, it's still a pretty decent pick. But
given how everybody was talking about him, and all the people saying, ESPN was too rough, and all the pictures of him. Are you kidding? That happens all the time.
Right.
If there's any, and even in games, if there's somebody that fouls up and makes a bad play, and it doesn't have to be ESPN, it's whatever network is showing it, they show that person over and over and over.
Right. Absolutely.
So I don't want to hear it. That's just crap as far as I'm concerned. There's my
2
professional opinion.
And what's crap, Dave, is I don't know where these kids are getting their advice or their information from, but 2 days before, Levis was telling me he was hearing he might be the number 1 overall pick to the Panthers. Yeah. And now he, goes to the second round. But the Panthers did take Bryce Young 1. No real surprise. In fact, they said on the broadcast that the NFL had to tell the Panthers, take your time on the clock. Don't rush, because we want to set up the packages for the TV and all of that. Oh,
see, that's awful. See, that there would be where I would just be like, nope, I'm going to just run up and make the pick. Well, of course, the commissioner, you could give it to him right away, and the commissioner could stand there and wait the entire time.
Right.
He could control it all by himself.
That's right. So you could have a 5-hour first round because everything's 10 minutes long, between picks. But your boy did come out, Roger Goodell, with the human shields as his blockers.
Yes,
he did take able-bodied people with him this time. They opened the show with Eric Stone Street, the comedian from Modern Family, and a young woman who was also an actor or actress, but I don't know what she was from.
I do not remember who it was. So
it was nobody I'd ever seen before, but that doesn't mean much.
All we're trying to do is reinforce the fact that we said he would come out with human shields, and he did. So we were right.
And then he brings out Kelsey and Mahomes, and then the ultimate human shield, the Super Bowl trophy. So in Kansas City, where complete pander. But he still got some booze. Which was great.
I definitely had the TV on mute at that point.
So the Houston Texans. So pick 1 goes by, and everyone's like, "All right, it happened." We kind of all thought. And the Houston Texans take C.J. Stroud, and again, everyone's like ho hum, kind of. They've been on the clock also for months, and this has kind of been obvious. The Davis Mills era is over. And they go with C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. So, Dave, I guess let's start right there before we get into Houston's continued craziness. Those 2 quarterbacks, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, do you have a feel of what their careers are going to be like in the NFL and what kind of players they're going to be at all? Maybe in comparison to somebody historically? Would be nice.
What's interesting is, well, it's okay. This is our podcast. what's interesting is that these teams are saying, these guys are going to be, can't miss. And sure,
Right.
have we seen, the Ryan Leafs of the world? Yes, we have seen some complete busts.
Jamarcus Russell exists.
Right,
Yes.
Jamarcus Russell. Some of these names, though, I would say Bryce Young and CJ Stroud don't fit that bill, just based on the amount of time they played in college, the success that they had, the competition that they played against. Bryce Young is certainly great. He is so small, Mike, and I know this has been a theme
Right.
for some time. It will be curious to see how he does. Again, this was some of the knock against Lamar Jackson and
More like RG3 and Kyler Murray, we're kind of seeing play out, just that slighter build that, the full contact NFL, it's going to challenge.
And even with
there's nothing
all
you
of
can
the
do about it. You
rules,
can't, right? Your build is your build. You can't outwork it or out hustle it.
yeah. So, when you look at a CJ Stroud, who's, 6'3", a little bit bigger, 214, I think physically Stroud has the body build to last longer, as far as, quarterbacks in the league.
Any feel about who they
But
look like at
man,
all, especially Stroud?
Bryce Young. I mean, it's
Russell.
Carolina. You still, both teams are not great, Mike. I mean, I guess Carolina was a little bit better. They did have a chance there in the last couple of games if they had won to kind of, work
remember,
their
that's
way
a god awful division
into the playoffs. Right.
Yeah.
So, does that help?
They could pull a Jacksonville.
Sure. They certainly could. The Texans, I think they have a lot of work to do. But both of these guys are going to play.
Right.
So I guess that's what I got. I don't have huge comparisons other than, saying, like I said, they do have more success, I think, than some other potential or past busts in the early picks.
Well, I'm glad you said all that because I think you're exactly right. No one really knows who these guys are or they're going to be.
Yeah.
Everyone, and myself included, and I'm still not convinced that Jalen Hurts is, the next great NFL quarterback. So when I look at these guys, and really anybody drafted quarterback wise in this draft, Richardson, Levis, all those guys, I think this is going to go down as one of the worst quarterback drafts in a long time. I don't see anybody here that I think is going to be above average. I think Stroud has the biggest potential.
Mm-hmm.
Levis has the biggest arm, but the one I bet on the most, ironically, is Hendon Hooker. Who has all the tools, has the experience. He's a little older than the rest, yeah, for sure. But early success anyway. I think Hendon Hooker might be the way to go as far as who's going to be the most successful. But he wasn't even taken early, so who knows?
Yeah, and so Hendon Hooker, 3rd round to the Lions. Pick number 68.
Which isn't a bad pick. You're not going to have him early because he's still battling the injury. You're fine with Goff for another couple of years anyway. Probably.
Sure.
So I like what they did there.
Yeah, he has an opportunity to get some time to develop, and I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers, but if you think about some similar circumstances, now of course Jared Goff is not Brett Favre either. But similar in that, he doesn't need to start right away, and there's experience in front of him.
Sure, absolutely.
Mike, you alluded to the craziness of the Texans. What else did the Texans do?
It's like, do we want the quarterback or the pass rusher? And someone in the corner with another meme saying, why not do both? And they did, dude. They made the trades and came back to the 3rd spot in the draft after just picking number 2. And they take Will Anderson, the pretty much can't miss edge rusher out of Alabama. So they get a stud pass rusher and their quarterback of the future in back-to-back picks. And I just think it's very interesting to see teams do that. It was almost like what was that Kevin Costner movie where he was the draft? Was it called Draft Day? Where he was the Cleveland Browns general manager, and he was same snare. They were stuck between two players, and he went back and got them both. And like in the movie, that was like, you know, the best thing that ever happened in the history of sports. But
yeah, great move by the Texans, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you on some levels you can make an argument that Will Anderson Jr. is a better pick than CJ Stroud when you think about like immediate impact. You know, he's got the body, the 6'4", 253. I mean, he's got that fast, you know, big but not huge body on the outside. You could definitely make that argument. I mean, this is a great pick, I think, for the Texans.
I agree totally. I think that this franchise is constantly underrated. As much as they seem to be rebuilding every year, their draft of talent isn't bad. I think their choice, you know, obviously they ran with my boy at head coach, and then he was running the show for a long time. Bill, I can picture him, formerly Penn State.
Yeah. I was going to say Bill Bradley. Bill O'Brien is his name.
Yeah. They let him run it into the ground, but you know, they seem to be back on track and you know, jettisoned, you know, Deshaun Watson, and now they're a year washed from that, and now they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So good for them. And then the Colts step up at 4, Dave, and really the only choice they really had, because what are they doing at quarterback? But they had to do something.
They had to be a quarterback, right? It was Richardson or Levis. And yeah, they go with Richardson again, you know, good quarterback body, 6'4", 244. You know, certainly has lots of ability and lots of talent. But yeah, they had to go quarterback here.
I mean, he really sucked at Florida, didn't he? I remember there was a couple of games where he had some bright moments, but really they didn't win anything, you know, at Florida. Now, you know, talent pool and, you know, coaching and all that stuff goes into it, especially in college. But still, for somebody that's the 4th overall pick in the draft as a quarterback, you would have thought, you know, a little more success on the field for Richardson, in my opinion. But, you know, I'm not a big fan of his. I think he's got, you know, he has an arm arrogance without the actual talent to back it up. So
yep. And if you reference our earlier comments, is this a guy that is a bust?
Yeah,
because of the lack of success at Florida. We will see.
But it's got bust written all over it. It really does, unfortunately, for the Colts, who, you know, might not be a big fan of their owner, but you know, those fans deserve better than a piece of trashy organization in the middle of. I won't put them in Browns territory quite.
I say not in Browns territory yet.
No. What else, Dave? So those are the 3 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. There really wasn't a ton of excitement. Now,
I mean, the Jalen Carter pick to the Eagles. You know,
the one right before that, though, was really the first, I would say, controversial pick.
Bijan Robinson from Texas.
Is a nice talent and will help the Falcons, but 8th overall with all the needs they have, just seemed for running back, you know. And believe me, I understand the hypocrisy of wearing this giant shirt and drafting Saquon Barkley so high, but still, this is not Saquon Barkley by any means.
No, it's not. And I think I'm not a huge fan of Jalen Carter based on some of the off the field stuff that has gone on with him. And I think that's going to come back to bite the Eagles in the ass as far as that goes. But
you don't think their locker room with all the Georgia guys and Alabama guys there will keep
I don't know.
I
I
think
just
that's
think,
overblown. It's
well,
not
I just
college.
think he's just, there's just certain people,
Yeah.
players that are just not right. And I think he's one of them.
Okay.
That being
That's
said,
fair.
how do the Falcons not take him at 8?
I don't know.
That's for me, like, I mean, he's a tremendous talent. And, I think, the Falcons, that's their first pick. That's one of those, I think, where you have to say you got to take the best player on the board.
Right.
And you can make
Either
an
way,
argument.
that wasn't Bijan Robinson. I don't
No,
think.
it was not Bijan Robinson. No, they definitely got caught up in the hype machine on that one.
So then the Bears do something very curious. Peter Skoronski grew up in Chicago, went to Northwestern, which is in a suburb, Evanston suburb of Chicago.
Yep.
They need a tackle, and they take the kid Darnell Wright from Tennessee, who had very similar grades to Skoronski.
Yeah.
And Skoronski goes, at 11 to the Titans. And I happened to be watching some draft coverage with Taylor Lewan was on, from formerly of the Titans, and he was pumped up. He said, they just set up there with Skoronski, Titans left tackles set for 10 years. That's how much he likes Skoronski. Not that Darnell Wright isn't going to be good, but why would the Bears miss the opportunity for the hometown guy unless they know something literally nobody else does? They're very curious to me. You have any inside information on that one?
I don't. The only thing that I'm seeing, and really these guys can put the weight on, but the Darnell Wright kid at 333, and Skoronski at 313, just a little bit bigger. But you read these things, they're both can't miss, plug and play starters onto the offensive line. Mike, I'm with you. I don't have any inside information. I would think they would lean towards the local guy. But I guess, it is the Bears. I don't believe that the Bears have any difficulties drawing fans, and are they going to draw fans for an offensive lineman? Not necessarily, but you get your team excited for the local guy. I mean,
it's
I know
one of those little fabric stories that helps in the long
run. I mean, a small piece, but the Bills signed Latavius Murray today to their running back crew, and he grew up in Syracuse.
Right.
So like, hey, that's kind of exciting.
Is
and that's
Singletary not on the roster anymore? Did I miss that?
Yes,
Devin Singletary.
You did miss that. He is.
Where'd he go? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure we'll see him bouncing around the league.
He's gone.
So then, Dave, the 12 pick causes every expert on every channel to.
Oh, he's on the Texans now.
Oh, okay. All right. He's a good Texan. That's a good Texan. The 12th pick, every expert loses their mind when the Lions select Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. Second back taken in the top 15, top 12 here, when the over-under for running backs taken in round 1 was a half going in, according to all the gambling sites. So they expected Bijan Robinson to be at the bottom of the first round. Definitely didn't expect Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. Now, I did see them saying with the Lions style, he can catch 40, 50 balls out of the backfield, but still. And they later, in fact, waited until today to trade Swift, DeAndre Swift. So loosened up some playing time for Jahmyr Gibbs. But still, I just, it's just one of those that the Detroit Lions continue to lion after all these years.
They do. And it's again, like, belabor this, like the next pick is Lucas Van Ness, the defensive lineman or the defensive end from Iowa.
Right.
How are you not taking him, or Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle from Georgia that goes the next pick? Like, Detroit, they're just.
If you have Van Ness and Hutchinson, bracketing the end there,
yes,
forget about it. What a great pass rush, I agree.
when you think about the high quality of the offenses in the league, and okay, so you can make an argument, all right, that the Lions are trying to make their offense, more diverse, but then if they trade DeAndre Swift,
Right.
well, addition by subtraction by addition. I'm not
I
really
don't know,
sure.
buddy. I don't know.
I would think another defensive end would have made a lot of sense for Detroit.
Especially paired up at 18, they go out and get Jack Campbell, the linebacker from Iowa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they could have paired him with his pass rusher friend from Iowa,
and I was upset
because I really be the trend in the NFL this.
Yeah, I wanted the Bills to get Jack Campbell. I mean,
right.
He's right up there. He was, one of the best. Yeah, he was the top. Oh no, well, I mean, technically Will Anderson Jr. was a linebacker, but he's going to play more end, but in the NFL. But yeah, Jack Campbell, I was hoping he was going to fall to the Bills. That's a great pick for the Lions.
It is absolutely a great pick for the Lions. But in the shadow of their first pick, it's a head scratcher.
Yes.
It's a head scratcher. And then we see significant names, 20, Jackson Smith-Njigba goes to Seattle to continue to bolster Geno Smith's receiving core there with DK Metcalf and Lockett.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The one I wanted, Quentin Johnson, and we get a little run here on receivers.
Oh, yeah.
Then goes to the Chargers.
Yeah, that's a great pick for them. I mean, that is just a great pick. He's so talented, boy. That's you'd have to be thrilled, I would think, as a Chargers fan.
Zay Flowers, the only talent on a Boston College team this year, apparently, goes to the Baltimore Ravens in the next pick. And then the fourth in a row, Jordan Addison goes from USC to the Minnesota Vikings, who Adam Thielen signed somewhere else this offseason. So he kind of
I love Jordan Addison. I think he's going to do a great job there in Minnesota. That's just a great pick for them.
So all of a sudden you get 19 picks, no wide receivers in a league that is wide receiver heavy right now, honestly, and has had some great, just think about the influx of wide receiver talent in the last 3 years. It's been unbelievable. From CeeDee Lamb and Jefferson and just all these young kids that can just go get it. To not have a pick until 19 and then get 4 in a row, it was just a weird draft day for many reasons. This was another, cluster of them.
Yeah. So you had 10 of the first 19 picks were defensive players.
Right. So the league's playing catch up to all the offensive explosion that we've seen. And speaking of which, my New York Giants pick 24th, and they go out and get a cornerback from Maryland who I hadn't heard or seen a lot about until about a week before the draft. I saw this kid's highlight tape, and I really like him, Deonte Banks. He was one of several I had on my list of people I wanted in the first round, because I always have champagne dreams and a light beer budget in the first round, but what the heck, it's not my budget. How many years did I want Micah Parsons and Simmons that ended up in Arizona and all these linebackers? We still don't have one, but
still don't have them.
I digress. I like the pick a lot. Position of need.
Definitely a position of need. Yep.
Played Maryland actually turned out to be a fairly winning program while he was there, and he was definitely a leader there, so I'm okay with it. I'm not blown away. I'm not buying a Deonte Banks jersey or anything, but no, but it's good.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the next pick, David.
It's very interesting. So the Bills go after Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah, and they select him, and everybody, anybody who's everybody or whoever, they're all saying, "Oh yeah, this is a great pick," and and there was a lot of Cowboys. media saying, oh, that what, and you got Skip Bayless like went all ridiculous because he was all upset because Dalton Kincaid didn't fall to Dallas, who had the next pick. And Dallas, come on, you took Maisie Smith from Michigan. I think you need to be okay with that.
Yeah, you're gonna live with that one just fine.
You're gonna be all right. But the thing that was interesting to me was I had looked before the draft, and the Bills site had listed most popular positions with all the different mock drafts for all of the Bills, the picks, and with this particular pick. And of all the different selections of the 7 different positions, tight end was at the bottom with 3. So needless to say, I was a little surprised. Now, reading about Dalton Kincaid and all of the things that he can do, the fact that he's sure-handed, he's fast. In this, he's fast, he's in this, Travis Kelce type mode. That's great. And I'm, that part, was reassured me a bit. I just was a little surprised. Now, the Bills were able to, bolster what I think they needed in the rest of the draft, but I just was a little surprised at this one. But as the Bills have said since Brandon Beane and McDermott have come on, especially early in the tenure, is to trust the process, right? Trust the process. And so I'm going to trust the process here, that they know what they're doing, and that Dalton Kincaid is going to be, the tight end.
Was there a lot of consternation out your way about not taking the kid from Notre Dame, Michael Mayer, the other big name tight end?
I don't think so.
Baby Gronk. Okay. All right. He ends up with the Raiders in the second round, and I think that's perfect for him and the Raiders. So let's look at, you talked about the rest of the picks for the Buffalo Bills, so let's do that while we're here. Second round, you get a guy I wanted for the Giants.
Yes.
And the name was fun, so I'll let you say it since he's your player.
Yes. O'Cyrus Torrence.
Yeah, take it
Gotta
to
love
Osiris.
it. Yes, take it to it, Osiris. And if you haven't seen, go out on social media and watch the phone call sequence of them talking to Osiris. It's a pretty cool thing because he was not at the draft; he was at home. Pretty cool deal. But yeah, he's definitely, offensive guard, offensive line from Florida. Definitely somebody who was right up there on the Bills list of players to go get. Very, very pleased with them picking him. Have to be excited for that pick. Great. And I am, definitely.
And then third round, they take Dorian Williams out of Tulane. The site I'm on gives that an A grade as well as the Osiris Torrence pick. So I'll trust them on there. I don't know about him. Have you looked him up at all?
No, I mean, I read a little bit. Look, he was on a Tulane team that was not good. But then, had a great year this last year, 12-2. So he was, one of the people that was able to help turn them around from, I believe they were 2-10 the year before.
Right.
So it's interesting though, because the Bills really need a strong side linebacker, and they drafted a weak side linebacker.
They must have some idea in mind.
Yeah, well, and listening to Brandon Beane and McDermott, that they're confident that, the Bale inspectors of the world and others on the team are going to compete for that spot. As far as that goes, they didn't rule out Dorian Williams for it, but it's not
going to be his focus.
Yeah, it's not going to be his focus. They've said it, at least in his first year. So, but we needed a linebacker. We needed depth there. And, hey,
you went and got it.
We went and got it. So again, as I've said, I like what the Bills did later in the draft to balance out their needs.
Yeah. And they took from, when you look at the schools, even their 7th round pick went to Oregon State, Ole Miss, Florida, winning programs, schools that had nice years in picking the winners in those programs, I think is key to a good culture and fabric, which is, all the catchwords that GMs and coaches use.
Yep. And that's, the culture piece is huge in Buffalo, and a lot of players talk about it. The wide receiver, Justin Shorter out of Florida, very, very sure-handed, similar with Kincaid, not a lot of drops over the time of his career. Nicholas, and I think it's Brecker, the guard from Mississippi. So, again, adding offensive line depth, which they sorely needed last year. And you can never anticipate injuries, but because those positions are so critical with how the offense operates, you've got to have more depth there. And you mentioned rounding out the Alex Austin, the cornerback from Oregon State, is a 4-year starter. I mean, obviously we saw Oregon State do some good things this last year. So, solid draft class. I think for the Bills, Mike. What about the picks for your Giants?
Well, you had mentioned when you were talking about the Bills, we had a need and we went and took care of it. Well, that's what they did in round 2, the Giants, with a center, John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. And Minnesota, you remember Ibrahim and all those guys had a nice running game, and he's the center. Calling the blocking scheme.
Oh, so that's right. Oh, how could I forget? They demolished Syracuse in the bowl game with their running. So yes, absolutely. Oh, I remember they should. Oh, this is the guy that didn't play in the bowl game.
Correct.
Oh, and I was now it's all coming back. I was all over this because I just thought it was utterly ridiculous that he didn't play.
A center from Minnesota didn't play in the bowl game, but he got drafted, in the second round by the Giants. So.
Sure, it works out. He didn't get hurt against Syracuse, so he gets drafted. He gets drafted and then gets to go play in New York. Well, technically New Jersey, but whatever as far as that goes. Great pickup for your New York Giants.
And then Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, lots of speed at wide receiver. Can't teach speed, so can never have too much of that. Same thing with Eric Gray, running back out of Oklahoma, not looking to hit. If he gets more than 5 carries a game, something's drastically wrong early on for sure, but never too much depth there. Trey Hawkins out of Old Dominion. I can't say I ever heard of him. Jordan Riley out of Oregon is just a big body, 6'5", 325 in the middle. And then the Giants' last pick of the 2023 draft, Gervais Owens, or Gervais, I don't know how do you say that, Gravis Owens, safety out of Houston. This particular website's giving them an A, and so I will take an
Gervais Owens?
I don't know. It's not Gervais.
The safety there. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yep. So again, with the Bills, very solid pick, adding to some positions of strength, but mostly, supplementing what we need to take this back and, get another playoff win. That's what we're looking for, buddy. I think both our teams, are going to have decent years.
Yep. I would say with the Giants, too, you have, Joe Shan, who was with the Bills. And so, and obviously worked there with Brandon Beane. I think you see a very similar pattern, right?
Okay.
Going out and filling the needs across the board. And I think that's what he learned being in Buffalo. And same with Brian Daboll. And so you see that type of environment now with the New York Giants. And that's a good thing for the Giants. I think, the Bills have been able to build their success the last bunch of years because their drafts have been let's get depth across the board.
And then add the talent on top when we made the Diggs trade and, Allen came around.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up on this, Dave. Syracuse Orange Division I football team
ends
up having 2 players drafted.
Yep.
I kind of thought there would be more, but that's okay. Matthew Bergeron
Yes.
goes
Goes to
to
the
offensive
Falcons.
tackle, goes
Yep.
to the Falcons, and
Yep.
then Garrett Williams goes to
To
the
Arizona.
Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
He's the cornerback that
Cornerback.
had a big reputation. Sean Tucker got signed today by the Baltimore Ravens.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, them too. Both of them. Both
Both
teams
of them.
signed him, and then
Both
Tampa
teams
got
signed.
him. Tampa ended right.
Yes.
So I guess I thought Tucker, especially since we saw 2 running backs in the first round, I don't see a big drop off, to Tucker. But I watched Tucker more than most, so I'm probably a little bit biased as far as compared to the 2 other kids that were drafted. I didn't see Bijan a ton.
No, I mean Tucker's very
saw.
talented.
Yeah.
He certainly has a chance with Tampa Bay. Also, Mikael Jones signed with the Chargers.
Oh, he did sign. I
and
didn't know if he
Andre
signed.
Schmidt signed with the Bears. So, you got a couple of, Andre Schmidt, the kicker. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you got, some extra, undrafted free agents along the way. So that's good.
The Bears, they're not still rolling out double doing Cody Parkey, right? They had Santos or somebody last year, I believe, kicking Carlos Santos, formerly of the Chiefs. Yeah. Confirmed. So it'll be interesting to see if he's re-signed or if Schmidt he was a decent kicker, right?
Oh, he was a great kicker.
He
won the Lou the Toe Groza Award as a freshman.
The Lou the Toe Groza Award. They're getting deep.
Oh yeah, best kicker. Yeah. 2 other interesting points before we end up, Mike. 2 of the, during the college year, great quarterbacks. Stetson Bennett.
Oh yeah.
Signs with the LA Rams. And wins. From Georgia. I believe I remember seeing some memes that he was like older than most of the NFL quarterbacks, and so now he goes to the Rams. Like, so he's automatically older than Matthew Stafford. And Max Duggan from TCU goes to the Chargers. So they both are out there.
Interesting.
In LA. I'd be curious to see how those 2 play backup role. How does it go for the 2 of them who, obviously were very successful and matched up in the national title game this past year?
Yeah, that's a great point. And, with the XFL and the USFL now playing football, maybe Duggan and Bennett end up there trying to hone their skills a little. Obviously, Duggan with the Chargers, Herbert's going to be there another 8 years or so anyway. And then with the Rams, maybe Bennett does get a shot. You got Baker Mayfield and Stafford there. Oh no, Baker Mayfield's gone.
Yeah.
Who was my boy? The young kid. Anyway, there might be some
the guy from Wake Forest, John.
We are not football mode.
Can't pull the last name there, but
I got it. Wolford.
Wofford.
Wofford. Yeah.
Wofford. Yes.
So there's some opportunity in the near future for Stetson Bennett, maybe.
Yeah.
Because Stafford, where's he have 2 years left? He's right behind Rodgers and Brady and all those guys, and they hung on forever already.
Yeah.
So he can't
Stetson
be too
Bennett.
much longer.
He could be very well set up there.
Yeah. But speaking of setup, that probably will take care of our NFL coverage unless something really crazy happens between now and training camp and our preview podcasts for the summer.
We might hit up the schedule. The Bills and the Giants we're playing each other this year, so that'll be interesting to see. I believe it's a game that's in Buffalo.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see where that ends up. How many primetime games the Jets and Aaron Rodgers get. Lots of speculation.
Let me give you a hint.
Yes, a lot. Yes. I saw Adam Schefter say today that they thought they might get as many as 6 after they had 1 last year.
Legal maximum though. They must there must be a negotiation with a maximum
Oh,
appearances.
I believe there is. I believe there
Yeah.
is, but
Between Sunday night and Thursdays, and it just throws your schedule off so
yeah,
much.
but they could
having
get
to be
flexed
sharp.
later in the year too into some extra
That's right.
spots.
Good point.
So maybe we'll do an NFL schedule thing. We'll see how it goes as far as that, the schedule and what's exciting, and if there's anything like crazy that goes on, we certainly will be covering it here at Think Tank Sports. We hope that you've enjoyed our draft coverage. Let us know what you think. Comment on the social media or send us smoke signals or carrier pigeon
Yes.
to Central New York. We'll probably see it pretty easily here. But yeah, comment, watch out for our polls, listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. For us here at Think Tank Sports, we are happy to provide this content for you and hoping that you will continue to listen to us here at Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen as we strive for your 5 big stars. See you later, everybody.